from the Catholic Underground.
Today on the show, we geek out about the new iPhone, and I watch Thou Shalt Not Steal, except for when thou shalt, and getting out of step with the St. Patrick's Day Parade, our picks of the week, so much more. The Catholic Underground starts now. Well, what's a geek like you doing in an internet cafe like this? I'm Father Chris Decker. This is the Catholic Underground, your weekly Catholic guide to the digital continent. It's episode number 274. If you're joining us at CatholicUnderground.tv, you're probably getting your chat on with us. Joining me this week, we got Father Ryan Humphreys. He is the rector of the Minor Basilica of the Immaculate Conception in historic Natchitoches, Louisiana. Hello, Father Ryan. He's over there, we promise.
Hello, world. How are you?
Yeah.
Kathleen Lee is the campus minister at St. Michael the Archangel High School in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. She's our fully licensed faith ninja. Hello, Kathleen.
Well, hi.
And Jeff Blackwell is the technical director of the CU and commandant of the Jeff Star 1 near-Earth orbit satellite. Hello, Jeff.
I'm just tickled to be here. It's good to be here, Father.
Yes, indeed. And we've got Katie running the video, and she's learning how everything works again. It's kind of like, riding a bike, except the bike has a lot of buttons instead of pedals. These things do happen. Alrighty, well, we've been on hiatus for a month. In case you're joining us, this is exactly what we're doing. And I don't know, what have we been up to? Kathleen, what have you had the start of school?
Oh, yeah. We started school and new job, and it's been great, going really well. We're actually starting to get started on our Youth March for Life trip. So,
and that's a big deal for you, the March for Life.
Yeah, we have, it started off with, I think, 1 or 2 buses when it first started about 7-8 years ago.
And these are not like school buses. These are giant motor coach
buses. And we are, we got all the way up to 11 one year.
Yeah.
Last year we had 9, and we promised 8 this year.
Phew.
We'll see how that works out.
That's a fleet, actually.
Wow. And now I'm getting to see the other side of it and what all goes into organizing this trip. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It certainly is a lot.
And, of course, as you know, this is the March for Life trip in Washington, D.C., the one that we provide coverage for. We certainly provide EWTN's coverage, but then we also talk about it, too. And a lot of seminarians almost always go,
right. And
a good number go with your group, actually,
right.
with the group from the Diocese of Baton Rouge. Now, is this just the Diocese of Baton Rouge?
I think this year it might be just the Diocese of Baton Rouge. We've had Jackson. We've had some people from...
Yeah. They're all kind of spinning off their own version of this trip.
Lake Charles, but they've all kind of done their own. They've all gone their own way.
Well, that's okay. Well, the neat thing about what you're coordinating is that there's a lot of component to it. It's not just getting in a bus and driving to Washington, but there are spiritual points along the way. Different. You really make it into a pilgrimage.
Yeah, so that is the buzzword is pilgrimage, and it starts when you get on. Actually, before you get on the bus. It's constantly, what are we doing? What does this? Everything has a purpose. Everything has a point. So it's really cool. I love it. I've been a bus leader for the past couple years, and I think this will be my 7th year on the trip. So it's really cool to be kind of in charge of it.
Well, it sounds like that's been the bulk of what you've been doing the past month.
Pretty much. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Father Ryan, you have been busy pastoring.
Yeah, we're going on the March for Life as well. We're taking one bus from my little school, and this is our first year going, so it's going to be what we're calling a warrior trip, because we're leaving Tuesday and getting back Friday. So we're going hardcore and only going to be there for the Mass and the March, and then we'll be back by Friday at noon. So it's going to be a mad whirlwind of a trip, but it's the first time we've ever done it, and so we're kind of just getting started and getting our feet wet. We're also playing football now, and I've been doing a lot of tech coverage, and I'm also getting articles and stuff for the bulletin written because we are leaving for Italy in less than 6 weeks' time.
Wow.
So very exciting.
Around the corner.
That's right. Golly, it's hard to believe that in just a few weeks, really, we'll be going to Italy, Father Ryan and I, leading that pilgrimage. Jeff, what have you been up to?
I've never left here. I mean, I've been here
you've been working. You didn't do anything. You've just been busy. Or I shouldn't say you didn't do anything. You didn't go anywhere, but you've been doing everything.
Yeah, my wife and I were going to take a couple of days off because it's like the last 3 or 4 times we tried to take a mini vacation.
Yeah.
Everything happened. I even called you one time and say somebody hacked my debit card, and so we had to turn around and come back home. So we finally get out of town for a couple of days, and she comes down with this head cold and bronchitis thing.
Oh,
so
my
she
goodness.
was miserable, so we came back home. But anyway, other than that, there's plenty of work always here to do at Catholic Community Radio and at the Catholic Underground. So I'm just I'm delighted to be healthy and happy and doing what I love to do.
Jeff actually has to take off his pith helmet and pickaxe to do this show. But yeah, he's been very busy down in the mines at the Catholic Underground and Catholic Radio.
Things are going well, though. We've got some promising things ahead, and we're going to be talking more about that sooner. Oh, by the way, I've noticed the Facebook page, the Catholic Underground Facebook page, the numbers are going up. We got to break 5,000, so come on, share. Pass along the information to other people, like us, and all that kind of stuff. Let's top 5,000 likes.
Oh my goodness! And I've actually been out on a week of vacation since I had the opportunity to just kind of run. I ran, and so I've been out on vacation.
Good. And
I haven't even looked at the Facebook page. One of the things that I like to do on vacation is just turn my phone off. And so I did. 4966 is where we are on the Catholic Underground Facebook page. So. If you have a moment, go to facebook.com/Catholic Underground.
Oh.
And if you haven't liked us, just click that little like button.
Click that like button.
Just a little
Get somebody else to like us.
Just a little click.
I mean, the cover picture alone deserves.
It does.
Every time I open it up on my computer, I look at it and it surprises me because it doesn't ever show up on my phone.
Oh, right.
That pretty much describes what happens here.
Yeah. Everything you need to know about the Catholic Underground, if you're new, is at the top of our Facebook page.
Yeah.
Which means I might have to change it now so that, But I think it does properly communicate what we're about. Yeah. Yeah, there's that. What else have I been doing? I've been busy with parish work, as usual. 2 parishes, no waiting. So that sort of thing. And just having to do the daily work of a pastor. All of a sudden, folks are starting to want to get married. Which is actually a good thing. It's a very good thing.
That's a very good thing.
Because we see sacramental marriage. I don't know about you, Father Ryan, if you can hear us. We're having a little Skype issue this evening, but
I'm with you.
Do you find that marriages are on the increase, or are they because internationally, sacramental marriages are on the decline? But I find that all of a sudden, folks are starting to want to get married, young couples.
I've always found that it kind of happens in waves, and I don't know why that is. But in my parish, I will at one point have 5 weddings in 2 months, and then I'll be without for 2 months, and then I'll come back in and have another wave of them. So, and of course, that might just be the certain time of year. People propose around certain days, and people tend to get married around certain seasons. And I think that has a big part to play with it, where, you're coming off the summer. A lot of people propose during the summer, and now they want to get married, and they look up what the church says, and they say 6 months. Well, 6 months is a spring wedding. And so, it's not unreasonable to call in the priest now. Yeah.
And so they are, all of them. So I'm trying to get, and that's kind of like luge positioning, trying to get everybody in the tube at the right time and get all that synchronized. So that's been a good deal of what I've been doing. Of course, I've been working with Catholic Community Radio and some of our plans for the future, and that's going to be exciting too. So, that's where we've been, which is somewhere actually, and moving forward, and that's very good. And we hope that you've been up to good things as well. Let us know. Backchat at CatholicUnderground.com. That's the way to go. So, without further ado, we might as well start talking about it now because it could take up the bulk of our show. If you're new to the Catholic Underground, we are Catholic, but we do tend to geek out quite a bit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And this is one of those times. We've been called Apple fanboys before. We've been called Microsoft haters. But the ghost of Steve Jobs reached from his valence in wherever he is, and delivered to us an iPhone 6.
Yeah.
And an iPhone 6 graham cracker, didn't he, Father?
And it really, I think this is one of those. Yeah. Well, the Pop-Tart. This is really the first time that we looked and saw Tim Cook's hand, and we have the iPhone 6, which is a slightly larger device. The iPhone 6 itself is about the size of the Samsung Galaxy, so about a 4.75-inch screen, and then the 6 Plus, which is by far the more popular of the two versions, is 5.5 inches, which is about the size of the Samsung Note. It is beautiful, and it's called a phablet, which is by far the stupidest name.
But no, we don't.
Phone / tablet.
We don't say that.
What do you?
That's a
We
naughty
don't.
word.
But what the phone really explodes with, now iOS 8 does stuff, and we've talked about iOS 8, but what the phone really does is it improves by including NFC, which is near field communication, which allows for hyper secure interaction. That's a really big deal because Apple released a program to allow you basically to pay with your phone, not in a cheap way and not in a Google Wallet way and not even in an app way, but in a way that everybody in a year and a half's time is going to have an iPhone 6. You hold the device by the little button and it scans your fingerprint, and you hold it near the terminal, and poof, it works. Also, Apple Pay is built into basically every app on the phone, and so you're in your Target app. You say, well, I can pay with a credit card, or I can just pay with Apple Pay. You're in
to me
using Uber to get your to get the cab. Go ahead.
To me, this is actually what the iPhone 6 is all about. I mean, there are other neat things happening.
Biggest deal of the day, yeah.
But it's really about the near field communication Apple Pay. This is why there's an iPhone 6, I think.
Wait a minute, wasn't there something like that in the Book of Revelation? Huh?
Oh well, it's not on our forehead, but
I'm just kidding, guys.
But that's the thing. I think that the ease of commerce is what's driving a lot of technology these days. And everybody wondered if the last iPhone was going to have this near-field communication thing. A lot of the Android devices do have it, but I have to say, and this might be my Apple fanboy coming out, leave it to Apple to make the deals with the credit card companies and the banks, and leave it to Apple to make it pretty and to do it well.
Well, and really what it comes down to is what we call critical mass. You have to have certain number of people using your product to have a game changer, like this work.
That's right.
And if Apple had tried to release this, when the iPhone 1 had come out, it would have never worked. Yeah. But now that basically everybody is holding a phone, and this is actually going to work to some degree in a different way with the iPhone 5, but because you have that security built in from the thumbprint, it's now going to be a much more intense deal. Yeah. The other part of the equation is that they're using a liquid sapphire screen, which means they've actually generated artificial sapphire, and they've made the screen of the thing one large crystal of liquid gemstone.
Whoa.
The only thing on the planet harder than sapphire is diamond. So
they're working on that one, I'm sure.
I mean, but you're actually, and now Apple is the single largest producer in the world of artificial sapphire. And so, what are you going to do? But these two things, this idea of the unscratchable screen and the idea of Apple Pay, are really what causes the game to change. It's not the phone size. It's not whether or not you can put more little icons on it. It's not even the stuff iOS 8 is bringing to the table. It's the ability to change commerce. Right now, Apple is about to get into problems with the SEC about whether or not, because they're going to be doing so much transaction business, now they may actually have to register themselves as a kind of bank.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're going to be doing as much business as probably some major credit card operator.
And this is also kind of like what Walmart and a lot of the big box stores are getting into. They're realizing that if they have enough of their equity and whatnot to throw around, it makes sense for them to become a lending organization.
Oh, yeah.
And Apple certainly. Yeah. I mean, nobody else on the planet at this point has the revenue that Apple does, except for maybe Google. And it's only a matter of time before Google becomes Google Bank. What a terrible logo that'll be.
At this point, Apple is going to be processing so much. Within the next 2 years, they're going to probably be processing more than any single credit card processor out there. Now, of course, Apple is basically playing intermediary.
Yeah.
So they're not establishing their own credit card company, but because they're doing so much of the processing and they're in the middle of it, it's going to be a big, gigantic deal. And frankly, I'm excited to try, because the biggest annoyance for me when I'm on my phone is having to pull out and type all this stuff. And I don't want to give anybody else my credit card information.
Right.
Sure.
And what they've actually done in the iPhone 6 is they've built a hardware chip where your credit card data is stored. It doesn't go to Apple servers. It doesn't go to the cloud. It's built into a chip.
Man.
And that chip receives a particular special hardware token from the thumbprint. And so once your thumbprint is certified, the only place that goes is across the little copper wire from your thumb to the chip and back. That's it. Your credit card data never goes away, so it's very, very secure. And without that token from the thumbprint thing, the chip is useless. It doesn't have any power. It doesn't do anything. So it's as secure as anything I've ever seen. It'd be a real serious trick to hack this particular part of the iPhone 6.
You know what I find interesting is that in all things, not to say that God prepared this technology. I'm not going to go that far, but God could easily have saved time and given us all the same fingerprint. You know, if it was just a matter of grip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But God, in His love and wisdom and mercy, and just infinite, awesome graphic design, you know, He gave us each an individual fingerprint. And because of our uniqueness, we actually can do things that are unique to even our technology, which is kind of mind blowing. Not that I'm giving too much to Apple here, but
sure.
But the fact that our uniqueness in a way helps us to securely encounter what we have to do in terms of commerce in the world, you know, even that's very interesting. Of course, you can see how that could easily be turned.
Yeah, that's one of the things I thought of. This wonderful secure feature that only one person in this world, planet Earth, can use. Mm-hmm. But how long is it going to take a hacker to figure out a way to get around it? You know,
Well, the thing is, the difference between using software to protect yourself and hardware.
Yeah.
Hardware is notoriously difficult to hack because they would have to steal your phone, Jeff, and then open it up and then find some way to simulate a very specific hash, which is not easy to do. And that would then only shoot back the encrypted, what we called it, wait for it, salted and hashed data. You know, so
which is what you do with your potatoes in the morning.
And so you're talking about a real trick to get your credit card data out of this thing. I mean, it's basically impossible.
I'm glad you explained that because I didn't
salted and hashed in the password world.
Okay.
Yeah, that's something. So Kathleen, are you going to get one of these salt and hash iPhones?
You know, I'm a little behind on the iPhone, so I have an iPhone 4.
Which still does the job, doesn't it?
Yeah. But, you know, I texted Father Chris several months ago because my iPhone 5, I think that there might be a little conspiracy.
Oh.
Because I think that once, like there's, you know, you're a couple behind, they plant something in your phone that just makes it stop working, and it's slow, and it like...
Yeah, that thing is called the operating system.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I can't, you know, I can't, it'll enter words, like it'll enter in my text messages before I even, you know, and it's just... It has a mind of its own sometimes.
And I tell you, when I had my phone, iPhone 4, and I upgraded to...
the new iOS.
Yes. I mean, it drove me crazy because it slowed it down. And I was ready to toss it in the old Mississippi River. But when I got the iPhone 5, I'm just like, I fell in love again. So I really do like my iPhone.
And actually, Father Ryan, as you know by now, if you're a regular listener, is a man of great extremes when it comes to his likes and dislikes of technology. I think I can say that. And Father Ryan, you did more or less take a solemn oath to never buy another Apple iPhone product ever again.
I recall that.
No, I didn't take a solemn oath. I said that I hate everything about this iPhone and want to see it utterly destroyed.
That's true. There's a
which is something, because when you're talking about the 4S, I stand by it. Siri was an absolute disaster.
Yeah.
The phone itself was it wasn't a good product. The screen was small. The typing was not very good.
Yeah.
And at that time, I think it was iOS 5 or iOS 6, and I still look back and say that was a very, very inferior operating system.
Yeah.
The big improvements with the 5S especially, and now the 6, especially the security side of things, and they've fixed an awful lot of the iOS problems. There's still a handful of issues with the iOS I'm really, really opposed to, but they've fixed most of my main concerns. Because remember, I left iPhone because I wanted a bigger screen and I wanted a keyboard that I could customize, and now both of those things are back for the iPhone 6.
Eureka.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Almost as if they listened to you, Father Ryan.
Oh, they didn't. No one ever listens to me. It's part of the joy of my life. I can say whatever I want because no one cares.
And now you can take a picture of it with a really awesome camera.
Man, the camera is amazing. They have hardware stabilization. So the actual lens has little micro motors that adjust using a gyroscope and a barometer.
Yeah. So basically it's like a Steadicam built in.
Yeah, I mean, they actually have a video of a guy on a skateboard using an iPhone 6 to video somebody else on a skateboard. Yeah. It's insane.
It's like one astronaut filming another astronaut.
I mean, it might as well be. But the camera stabilization is amazing, and the software they've added in, they've got a much better sensor than they have in years past. They've got a better sensor on both of the cameras, and the main camera on the back, of course, still has the LED flash, and it has the sapphire, liquid sapphire lens, and it uses this incredibly smart gyroscopic stabilization. It's astounding, Father Chris, how good the camera is going to be. I'm really sad it won't come with us to Italy because it's really good.
Yeah. Now, Kathleen was talking about the sapphire. Mm-hmm. And with this liquid sapphire screen, it seems like it might be a fashion accessory for you.
Yeah, if they could tint it,
Sort of wear it around your neck. Like Flava Flav.
Flava Flav. Yeah, but, I think that I am eventually going to get it.
Yeah. Start saving your pennies.
I might wait till things kind of die down. And because I'm not I am unlike our great fathers here. I do not wait at the door for things like this.
I'm not as much of an early adopter as I used to be.
Really?
I don't know. I'm not eligible for an upgrade until well into next year at this time, I think. So I don't know.
And Father Ryan, I have a question because we're talking now. You kind of baited the hook, and I'm interested. But do you foresee this as one of those? Since this technology seems to be so far ahead of others, will the prices, do you think, going to drop? After like a year or so, where it'll be more affordable?
Well, when the next version of the 6 comes out, absolutely. What Apple has typically done is they start off with their main product being $199, and their iPhone 6 Plus is $299, and then if you buy the top of the line, it's $499 subsidized or $946 unsubsidized. The iPhone 5S now will be $100, and the iPhone 5 will be the free one you can get on contract.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Next year, they'll probably cycle down where the 6 and the 6 Plus will be some version of 100 and 150. The 7 or the 6S or whatever naming convention they use for the new one will be $199. And then the 5S will probably be the free one. And that's what they've typically done, is just moved it down in those tiers.
Okay.
And I would imagine that's what they'll continue to do. You can still get this phone for $199, and you get all the benefits of it if you don't want the Pop-Tart sized one. If you want the one that's a little smaller, you can get that for $199 subsidized with a 2-year.
I'm just trying to figure out because I don't know that I don't know if I like the Pop-Tart.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to see Father Ryan's at work.
Yeah, I would recommend that. I mean, and it's the kind of thing where having it right away, there's no real particular advantage for it. You get it right away. You wait several weeks to get it. I'm going to have to wait almost a month to get mine.
Wow.
And then once you have it, you say, "Yay, I have it." And in 3 months, you can go to the Apple Store and pick one up, without waiting at all. So it's just a function. I ordered it mainly because I was hoping I would be able to have it for Europe with the camera.
Mm-hmm. But the release date
I
isn't
don't know
there.
that's going to happen. We'll just have to see. Maybe it'll come in early. Maybe it won't.
Sometimes they do. So the most drool-worthy screen size for you?
For me, it's screen size. Yeah.
And Jeff, you just want to know how much thing is, and we've
Father Ryan touched on that. It is a good-looking phone, though. I'll tell you, I went to the Apple website. In fact, there is a link in our show notes at CatholicUnderground.com. And it is a slick phone with a lot of great features. I'm liking it.
And I suppose at this time that we've talked about the innovation of the iPhone 6 and the 6 Plus, we take a moment of silence, which shouldn't be too hard since we're having Skype issues, to kind of send off, if we can, that one piece of technology that really started the reboot of Apple, and that was the original iPod Classic, right, Father?
Yeah, I mean it's astounding because of course the iMac came out, and some people liked it, some people didn't, and then in 2001, really 6 weeks after 9/11, Steve Jobs came out and revealed the first iPod, and of course there were a lot of people making fun of it and going, "Oh, the iPod, what a ridiculous thing!"
And a music device
it really did sit on its own laurels. Yeah. I mean, because there were tons of other music players out there, and the first iPod had the same problem the other ones did. It wasn't easy to get stuff into the device. Well, about 2004, iTunes for Windows shows up, and the iTunes Store shows up, and everything is now different. The iPod rather, became the device to have. Everybody wanted one, and it was easy, and it was good, and it was wonderful, and it really made Steve. It said now, okay, Steve Jobs has really made himself. He has changed Apple. Apple is now an innovator.
Yep.
And this week, when Apple was doing the big presentation, without any kind of fanfare or anything, they simply removed the iPod Classic from the store, and you can no longer buy them, and it's gone.
And there it is. Because now you've got an iPhone, and really the iTouch, I bet, is probably going to be the next thing to go. The iPod, that's basically an iPhone without a phone in it.
It's just a small tablet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you remember what makes the iPhone so amazing, and what people thought at Apple, people thought that Jobs was crazy, is he said, I want a device where I can play any song on my device with 3 clicks.
Yep. Bloop, bloop, bloop.
And he just said that. And he said, this is the deal. I want to click no more than 3 times. And when you're talking about thousands of songs, remember, these things started out with 5 gig hard drives.
Yeah.
Actual
hard drive.
And that was where that's where the click wheel came from.
Yeah.
Because they said, well, this isn't technically a click. And so the click wheel became this kind of magic trick for them to bypass Steve Jobs' craziness. But it turned out that it was one of these great innovations, and it really opened the door because it was a kind of touch-related surface that kind of started pushing them in the direction of real touch, which, of course, led us to the iPhone, which led us to the iPad, which led us to the phablet.
Yeah, which is now leading us to liquid sapphire, actually vibrating sapphire in such a way where your finger can record movement.
That is fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think
made from actual fairy dust.
I was going to say, I'm just thinking of all of the mines that Flintheart Glomgold had in Africa, which is where he's from, by the way. And Scrooge McDuck just really being annoyed because Flintheart Glomgold is now selling sapphire to Apple. He could become the richest duck in the world. Where do we go there? Anyway, so iPod has gone, Jeff.
Yeah.
But in many ways, the iPod will never leave us because it's still alive in the iPhone.
Oh, that's true. By the way, I saw I either read or saw a article. This has been like in the last 24 hours.
Yeah.
That Steve Jobs wouldn't allow his kids to play with the iPod. I mean, he
limited
the time. His deal was he'd like to get the family around the table and sit and talk about how was your day, what did you do, stuff that the kids were doing and that would be of interest to others. Yeah, imagine that.
Actual conversation.
Yeah.
It's what's for dinner, or it should be anyway.
Exactly.
And I think that's always a very important thing to mention because on vacation I was around adults and children alike, and even though cell service was spotty where I was, everybody still had their smartphone out and they were playing apps and nobody was talking, or they had their iPod, their earbuds in.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me how that has replaced even recreation.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing if you got your iPhone earbuds in and you're exercising.
Yeah.
But it's another if you're with your family and you've got your universe, they've got theirs, and there's another one.
Yeah.
That's
well,
still,
what are you missing? You're on a cruise.
Yeah.
For crying out loud.
Yeah.
Like, I had a moment on, I was at the beach for Labor Day weekend, and my teacher alarm set in, so about 4:30, ping, I was awake. And I couldn't get back to sleep, and so I thought, I'm going to go out and watch the sunrise. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So I got out there, and, it was really cool, and like the sun started to come up, and what came out my pocket? My phone. And I just was like,
I got to take a picture of this sunrise.
I'm like, it's inching up, and I'm like, that's a better, and I was like, wait a minute. I said, stop it, because, it really was like a moment of like, I don't have these moments very often, but it really was a God moment where I was like, you're missing the experience of it. And these pictures, I have an iPhone 4, so these pictures are not going to be the best.
Right.
They're not going to be great. You're missing the moment that you're in right now.
Yep.
And so I took one last picture, and I put it away. And then I spent the next 20 minutes just sitting on the beach watching the sunrise and looking out on the ocean. And it was totally cliche, maybe a little cheesy, but it was a great moment, and I remember that now, and I don't need a picture. And so that's kind of been my personal crusade.
And I think that not to put words in Steve Jobs' mouth or anything like that, but to me, that is what you're doing here as a parent or as an adult. Technology is important, and technology is a beautiful thing, and we can take images of things that are important to us. But if they do get in the way of the, here's my Jesuit theological term, the sacrament of the present moment, the moment in which the Lord is met in the moment you're in, whenever we forget that sacramental pointing to the sacramental realities of the Eucharist, then we then become okay with virtual Eucharist.
Yeah.
You see, in my humble opinion. If I live my life in a meta virtual world, all of a sudden the real presence doesn't matter.
That's right. Yes.
There's my homily for you, Father Ryan.
I'll take it.
Right. Okay. All right. Enough of these sermons. Let's talk about sin. Up next, one of those questions that we get asked all the time, and Father Ryan especially, is where is the moral line on copyright and intellectual property? Put another way, very simply, is it a sin to download music? Now, Father, this is a question that has happened since the days of Napster and person-to-person file-sharing sites like FileZilla and what was it? Kazaa.
Kazaa.
Yeah, and all those strange.
Kazaa. Yeah. LimeWire. Yeah.
LimeWire. Right. Remember those?
Yeah. Well, the difficult question about it is that there are some kinds of questions that have been around for a long time.
Yeah.
And if I walk over to your house and I steal your computer or even your flash drive, it's completely black and white, cut and dry. But as new technology arises, there are new moral questions.
Yeah.
And one of the big moral questions is, what about intellectual property? Because and of course, if I'm stealing something that you've produced, if I'm stealing a paper you wrote for school, that also is cut and dry. But what if I'm taking something you've made, creating a perfect duplicate copy of it, and that's not depriving you of anything, and it's not doing you any apparent harm, and now we both are happier.
Yeah.
And the only thing that's happened is some kind of arbitrary, line has been crossed. Is that a moral question or not? And because the laws themselves are still in a state of complete flux, we don't have a crystal clear answer. So it bothers me when people will come out and say, the answer is obvious and clear. It's illegal, and therefore it's wrong in every way. But the laws themselves are so completely confounding that, Father Chris, if you loan me one of your DVDs, we're breaking federal law.
Right. And golly, we should be going to prison now, because how many times did we trolley DVDs back and forth to each other when we were in the seminary?
Yeah, I mean, even something as simple as, it's not crystal clear if a parent buys a CD whether or not he's allowed to have his kids show it at a slumber party.
Yeah.
And even if I decide to invite the guys over for a Super Bowl party, if I make a flyer to put in my office that has the word Super Bowl on it, I'm breaking copyright law.
Yeah.
And so there becomes kind of the DUH test, the DUH test, where you say there's got to be a better way to think about it. And so the most obvious place to start is the law. We ought to render under Caesar what is Caesar's, and that's a good thing. But at the same time, when the law is completely absurd, we take a step back and say, now, where ought the moral lines to be drawn?
Mm-hmm.
All things being equal, where should the moral lines be drawn? And I, Father Chris, because I'm a list maker, have created 4 categories.
Indeed.
Or really 4 questions that we need to get into. So do you want to lead the questions, or do you want me to read the questions?
I'd be overjoyed, as a matter of fact, because we start with the law. So 4 conditions that affect the morality of intellectual property. So the first question we ask ourselves is, how is the original itself being distributed, right?
Right. And so if the radio, for example, we're distributing Catholic Underground for free.
Yeah.
Anybody who is driving in their car can listen to the radio, and there's Catholic Underground, there's Father Chris and Father Ryan and Jeff and Kathleen. And so we say, if it's out there, then it's out there. If somebody wanted to pull out their phone and record it, that's fine. We're giving the product away for free. That's fine. If we were putting it behind a paywall and saying $1.99 for old episodes, it would be very hard for me to say, but what if somebody had already downloaded a modern episode and wanted to share it with a friend? They don't need to say, go pay for it. They say, here, I've got a file, share it.
Right. And that's been always...
Now, I think other people might disagree.
Yeah, I was going to say that's always been one of the most difficult things about trying to monetize a nonprofit type of situation, is that you want to make enough to kind of perpetuate your apostolate or your nonprofit business, but you don't want to make it evil in that sense, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're basically, the question is, is my product good enough that people out of their own free will are going to want to support it? Mm-hmm. So if there's an article on the New York Times or something that's behind a paywall, like my little local newspaper is behind a paywall, it's ridiculous. And so someone shares a PDF of that article with me. Well, they're breaking the law, technically speaking, but all they want me to do is read a half a paragraph about how their kid, won an award or something. Yeah. And it becomes a question, well, how is the original being distributed? If the original was distributed for free in a newspaper that I subscribe to or that person subscribed to, then what is the difference between they're cutting out an article from the paper and handing it to me, or they're grabbing a PDF of it because they get a free subscription to the digital and then shooting me a copy of that? Well, there's no reasonable distinction. It's just a matter of convenience. And so if something is being distributed for free, then we say, well, there's a reasonable moral claim to say then that it can continue to be distributed for free. And in the law, that's called the analog loophole. If something, however, is being distributed privately, and then I go and I steal that, or I take that, or someone shares it with me, and then I say, well, was this originally for free? No. Well, then you've got a much more difficult moral question, and it's probably unethical or immoral if something was not being distributed openly for me then to take that, and certainly for me then to share that. There's probably immoral on that side.
Right. Okay. So then the next question is, what is the effect on the creator? Sorry, that was my Star Trek the motion picture.
Well, yeah. I read the Catechism about all this stuff, and the Catechism has nothing to say about intellectual property. The teaching on stealing is all taken from the point of view of the deprivation of the owner. Yeah. And so it's wrong to deprive somebody else of something. And so if I'm not going to buy an MP3, I have no intention of buying, one of Father Chris's emo songs, but he gives it to me for free because he thinks it's hysterical or because
he thinks I might
like it, and it's not really something I'm stealing. Is there anything wrong about that? There's no appreciable effect upon the guy who created the song or the person who's distributing it. It's very difficult to call that theft. Mm-hmm. If, however, I download a bunch of stuff and I say, look, man, I knew you were about to go pick it up. Here it is for free. Or here's a Blu-ray that I just burned. Don't go buy it from the store. It's almost certainly theft.
Yeah. And I think that's the fine line that we walk is here's an MP3 of a song that I found moving or whatever, and I think you'd enjoy it. Mm-hmm. Here it is. And then does that then motivate you to go and purchase it or the entire album? I mean, there have been times where people have given me MP3s for free, just saying, hey, I want you to listen to this. And I listen to it, and then I find myself purchasing the entire album.
Right.
Including the song that I was given for free, for quote-unquote free.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, but this actually, right. And so...
Yeah, and I...
Go ahead.
Well, and I was going to say that there are two other kind of conditions that make a part of this to play. That one of the conditions is if there's no monetization on it. So if somebody's not trying to make money on it, very much like Catholic Underground, we like people to give us donations, but we're not trying to make a living on it. And so, we don't really have an issue if someone breaks our copyright. We don't like that. We use Creative Commons. We want you to follow the rules. But at the same time, it's very hard to say it's morally wrong to use something that we're not monetizing. The other part of the equation is, what if there's no way to buy the media morally? What if the creator says, well, I've got this, but I'm not selling it to anybody? Like Garth Brooks did not sell any MP3s of his songs before very recently. Yeah. I had no moral qualm whatsoever taking the CDs that I owned, using software that's not technically legal, and then extracting those MP3s so that I could listen to them on my digital device. And in fact, a lot of other people did as well. Mm-hmm. The same with the Beatles and the same with other people. And so it becomes a question of, well, what if there's no way to buy Guardians of the Galaxy? Can I download the screener until the DVD comes out? What if there's no way to get Garth Brooks music? Can I rip that from my CDs? What if the creator has made it impossible to give him money?
Yeah.
Is it then wrong to take his product and use it? Now, if it becomes possible down the road, it's a different animal. I mean, I've got a bunch of BBC series that they don't sell digitally, but I've got DVDs of them.
Yeah.
Is it legal for me to rip those so I can watch them on my iPad? Well, that seems like it would be yes. The answer it is moral, even though it is technically illegal.
I'm just glad that the Samuel Goldwyn Company released the Chipmunk Adventure on DVD, because my VHS copy was getting very, very worn out.
Oh, okay.
They are the boys of rock and roll.
A rock and a roll. Anyway, so number 3 is, what is required to obtain it?
Yeah, and I think this is a big part of the equation. There's a difference between borrowing your friend's DVD, which is technically illegal, and using a brute force hack against the New York Times paywall.
Indeed.
It's a very different animal if somebody brings a thumb drive over and says, here, this book I bought from Amazon was fun, and if I go to BitTorrent and grab it. I think that's a big, big part of the equation. And so we have to look and say, if going through the trouble of getting it is something that seems shady, it's probably shady.
Yeah. I'm wondering, Kathleen, does this ever really enter into your discussions with some of your students about downloading music? Because it's a completely different world now with things like Spotify and even like Shazam, where you can listen to the entire track.
Yeah.
Do they talk about that at all?
It's not really on their radar. They don't see it as, I don't think anybody, who when it first, I remember when file sharing first came out, and there was an Napster and the whole debacle. And there was a moment where everybody went, we got to be careful about this. They're arresting people, and then it just
went away.
Nobody ever thinks about that anymore. Nobody ever really. So no, with my students, that's not even on their radar that they could, that the stuff that's on their computer they could get arrested for. They would be shocked, I think.
Yeah.
Just because it's so commonplace now. It's everybody does it, and
And it's a matter of handing somebody a flash drive.
Yeah.
That's the thing. We have solid state media that's so easily transferable now.
Yeah, but now with Spotify and like Pandora, all you have to do is just give them the name of the tune or the artist, and they'll go find it themselves.
It's funny. I had a friend who asked me this a couple of weeks ago if Spotify allowed for the burning of music. If I've got Spotify, which is a streaming service for those of you who maybe don't know, can I download those individual tracks and then burn them to a CD? I said, well, no, but why would you need to do that? Because I'm racking my brain trying to think, why would you need to do that? Because you can quote unquote download these streamable items for listening offline. So if you're not connected to the internet, but there's no way to then take them and burn them to a CD. And I'm thinking, why do you want to do that? And the person says, well, I don't have an auxiliary port in my car.
Yeah.
So the only way I can listen to these things is to burn them on a CD and put them in the CD player. And I said, because it seemed like a really 1995 kind of thing to do, and in fact it is, because most cars now have an aux port.
Well, and I went to extract a song from a Disney CD.
Yeah.
And couldn't do it.
Those are extremely difficult. Disney's DRM.
Yeah, it's really slick.
Second only to near-field communication.
I like it. So, that's kind of the way I look at it. If I buy a CD, and I've got probably hundreds, if not thousands of them, but if I wanted to make like a best of or
mixtape.
They'll mixtape, yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy brought back the notion of a mixtape, thankfully.
I love that.
Yeah.
But anyway.
And so finally, with what intent am I using it, Father Ryan? That's the last thing in considering the law and morality.
Yeah, and that's one that I think people tend to oversell. Some people say, well, it's only really bad if I intend to sell somebody else's stuff, but that's not really the case. With what intent am I using it? If I'm intending to sell and monetize someone else's stuff, that's wrong, it's unethical, it's immoral. On the other hand, if I download like the screener of a movie I just went and saw, like Guardians of the Galaxy, I haven't found that screener, but if I had it and downloaded it, I wouldn't be unhappy watching it. It's impossible to get elsewhere, and I wouldn't want to keep it because it's illegal. But at the same time, it becomes, well, if I'm just intending it to watch it and enjoy it, and then as soon as the DVD comes out, I go buy that, or I'm going to download it, from iTunes or whatever, it becomes much, much harder and a much more vague moral question. So I think this becomes, if I'm intending to use it for ill, it's clearly immoral. If I'm intending to use it merely for my own entertainment, well, there might be a spiritual lesson in there about learning some patience, but it becomes questionable to say whether it's moral or not. So I think in some of all this stuff, there's sometimes it's clear and obvious, but because the questions are so vague right now and the law is so confusing, I think that the answer ends up becoming, you have to look inside and say, is this something I believe to be sinful or not?
Yeah.
And you need to be careful because the law can get you whether you intend it to or not.
That's right. And that's the thing. Whether something is, you determine something morally sinful or not, it doesn't mean that the law will disagree with you, when that comes right down to it.
That's right.
If you want some more information, our friends over at Austin Catholic New Media, Cristobal Alamanza, has written on copyright and the ease of stealing in the digital age, and that is an article that will be in our show notes if you want to check that out. Before we move on, we want to maybe just touch a little bit on something that's happened in the news this past week, and that's Cardinal Dolan. He's catching flack about the St. Patrick's Day parade, Father Ryan.
Yeah, and I think rightly so. I mean, he's decided that he's going to continue to be the Grand Marshal of a parade that's going to involve a great deal of debauchery and drunkenness, and it's also going to involve some very politically motivated stuff about the homosexual community. And, putting the specifics of that aside, I think that there's a lot of questions we need to start asking, and maybe for another show, about what do we do with religious traditions that get away from us? What about when St. Joseph home sale kits become totems or rosaries become necklaces? Or All Souls Day becomes El Dia de los Muertos, which in some places is holy, in some places is crazy pants. And what do you do when you have a situation like a St. Patrick's Day parade and you've got a cardinal archbishop effectively saying, yeah, it's okay that you're, involved in this homosexual activism. I'm still going to condone it, and in fact, sit there on the float and wave at you as you go by. It's another one of these places where we've really got to start asking some tough questions because the world is not what it was.
Right, exactly. And the Catholic foundations of things, like the Royal Order of Hibernians instituting the St. Patrick's Day parade, those sorts of parts of the cultural milieu are no longer present in the same way. If St. Patrick's Day becomes more about the tenting of the Chicago River green and the drinking of green beer, and that in itself is an incomplete symbol pointing to the reality of St. Patrick and the greenness of the shamrock with which he used to preach his famous Trinitarian doctrine, then we do have a problem. And I think that's certainly worth a greater discussion outside of the podcast, but maybe on a future show. Yeah, what happens whenever I'm a bishop or even a priest and there's something going on in my diocese or in my parish that may have started with the church but has not ended up there? And so we just simply pose that question for your prayer, certainly for the Archbishop, for the Cardinal Archbishop, and for the people of New York, and for all of those who are innocent eyes looking in, saying, what do I believe? Yeah. And this is, of course, where we as Catholics are called to never give scandal, but always to give holy witness. All right. Well, that certainly is where we are, and I think we also need to go here.
The CU Pick of the Week.
Whew, all right. Well, for our first CU Pick of the Week in a month, Jeff, why don't we sneak over to you for a minute?
Oh, really? I feel honored.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this is important. What you've got is important.
And by the way, I know our listeners can't see it, but I went and bought a brand new Loud shirt to wear tonight.
Yeah.
And I've had this for 3 weeks because I knew that we'd get back together eventually. And
sure enough.
Yeah. So
this is basically a shirt. It is reminding us that we need to take a Catholic Underground road trip. It's got the Route 66 signs on it, and interstate signs, and classic
old cars. Yeah. Man, I love it. Well,
but that's not your pick.
No, my pick actually is this young man I've actually known since he's 2 years old. James Rosenblum. And he has been living in Nashville, trying to break into the music business, and
which is not easy, I understand.
And he plays a number of instruments, but he's got such a wonderful, kind heart. Yeah. And he is doing a Kickstarter campaign, trying to raise some money so he can raise. And it's like, I think he's wanting to get like $11,000 to go record 5 original songs that he has written. And I just urge you to go to facebook.com/James Rosenblum Music.
Yep. And there's a link to the Kickstarter there.
Yes, there. He has like a little 2-minute video, and he kind of introduces himself. You'll see he's very humble, very talented. He's got some of his music playing in the background. So
he's got 16 days to go. Oh. He's about halfway there.
Yeah.
There are 75 backers. So if you see this, give it some thought, because James is he's the real deal. He's a young Catholic who is trying to break into the secular scene, but with a good message.
Yeah. I
would say the religious scene, but there's no such thing anymore in the music business.
No.
He's breaking it. He's breaking into the biz.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you need any inkling as to what kind of a guy James is, Small Things with Great Love will be the name of the album. I believe.
Good.
At least that's what. Is that right, Katie? I'm
yes.
Right. Yeah.
She says yes.
Yeah. Because we all happen to know James actually. Through the young adult movement in the Diocese of Baton Rouge. Mm-hmm. James is a good guy.
Good guy.
Beautiful musician.
Absolutely. He's one of those that could probably pick up this missalette and make music with it.
Uh-huh.
True.
So moving from again, support James. I know I most certainly will. Also, Kathleen, yours is an interesting.
Get excited.
Yeah.
If you're like me, I have a collection, a myriad, a flock maybe of water bottles.
Yeah.
I like this one for the top. I like this one for the color. I like this one because it says, whatever on the outside. But I can never really find one that works.
Actually holds water.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have several, and when I was moving home, I had to get rid of plenty of them. But I found the water bottle to beat all water bottles.
Oh my!
And it is called the Hydro Flask. Yes, that's right. The Hydro Flask.
Golly.
This thing is ridiculous. It comes in several different colors.
And finishes, it looks like.
Well, it's all
matte.
and it's all
Is it carbon fiber or aluminum? She got to look at she brought her.
It's stainless steel.
Oh, stainless steel.
It's vacuumed and double lined. Does not sweat. Because if you're also like me, I find awesome water bottles and I put them on my desk, and there's lake water bottle all over the place. But this, it keeps. I can put ice. I can fill it with ice in the morning, afternoon, still ice.
Wow.
I haven't tried the heat yet, but
Father Ryan is already interested. He's looking it up right now. I promise.
Well, I'll tell you, it comes in several different sizes. It comes in several different colors. There's also a beer growler. For those of you who would like to take your beer, say, to the beach.
And that's why Father Ryan is interested.
Or hiking. There's also a food container. Now, they're a little pricey. This one, I think, was about...
Oh, they're a lot pricey.
Yeah, but totally worth it. I've banged it against several things already, and there's not a dent or a scratch to be seen.
Is it made of liquid sapphire?
It might be.
Ruthless tester.
It might be. But anyway, there's several different tops.
It also has interchangeable lids you can buy for an additional
fee. Oh, that's
fee.
cool.
Yeah, they're different ones. I have the one with the straw and the.
Yeah.
Whatever.
This is very interesting.
I love it. I'm gonna get rid of all the rest of them. And if you know me,
and
we say that I'm about to get rid of the rest of my water bottles.
Yeah. Because for Kathleen, maybe you're this way as well. A water bottle these days, especially when it's not disposable, is a fashion accessory.
Yes,
it says a lot about the drinker.
I will admit. Yeah. I have to have a cool water bottle, or else I'm not cool.
That's right. Speaking of cool things,
we got time for that.
Father Ryan, what's cool for your pick of the week?
Actually, I've got a really cool pick of the week called WikiWand. Wikipedia is a great resource, but it's ugly. God, it's ugly. WikiWand is basically a service that grabs Wikipedia data, and it's a plugin for Chrome, and it pretties it up, and it does a really, really nice job with it. It's incredibly smart. It rewrites some of the links to make graphics easier to get at. I've absolutely fallen in love with WikiWand, and I use Wikipedia a lot to kind of just do quick research or check on facts. It's great. It's definitely something to look at, and it's incredibly free.
Wow. Well, I might just have to click upgrade right there.
Mm-hmm.
My pick of the week actually came about because I don't know if this happens to you, but as an artist, I get places and I've got my Mac and I'm thinking, gee, I really would like to have this drawing that I want to do, this logo I'm designing or whatever, already in digital format without transferring it first to paper and then going from paper onto the screen. Well, the Intuos pen, which is this device here, that's square. It's kind of rectangular. It looks like a tablet actually.
Yeah.
But it has a little pen with it, and it writes upon the surface. It's basically a graphics tablet. But this one is kind of the next generation of the Wacom tablets, and it has an option for there's a touch model that has a touch screen, kind of like a little the new trackpads that Apple has.
Mm-hmm.
This one is just the little, I say cheap, but relatively cheap. The $79 is the price point.
Yeah.
But it's a graphics tablet that can travel with me, and I can just throw it in my bag and go. So if I want to draw something on the fly,
yes,
then here it is. Yeah, I just happened to see it. Apparently, Wacom is kind of reinventing some of their price points and stuff. And it also has, and I haven't bought it yet, but it has a wireless module that's removable.
Whoa.
So for $30 or $40 more, you can order the wireless module, so you don't have to have a USB cable.
I got you.
And so this is my notebook whenever I go anywhere and I have my laptop, which I always do. So that's my pick of the week, and I'm excited about it. If you let us know what your picks of the week are, backchat@catholicunderground.com is the way to go. Jeff, we always thank those who help us.
Yes, portions of the Catholic Underground are brought to you by audibletrial.com/Catholic Underground. That's audibletrial.com/Catholic Underground.
That's right, and we want to thank all of you who are benefactors for the Catholic Underground, especially for those of you who pray for us. There's really no good reason why we should be here. Absolutely none. Mm-hmm. But you keep calling us to the studio week after week. So much so that we have to take a month off every now and then. but thank you so much for all that you do to kind of pray for us and to keep us pumping. And we also thank those of you who help us financially as well, so that we can continue to upgrade our technology, so that we can continue to bring a state-of-the-art show. Alrighty, for the show notes that accompany this episode and everything that the Catholic Underground's about, go to CatholicUnderground.com. And that's the way that you can get all of that information, as well as how to get in touch with us on the social media. Father Ryan's church is online at minorbasilica.org. He is at FR Humphreys on Twitter. Thank you, Father Ryan.
Been my pleasure.
He's been braving the Skype problems. That's okay. Jeff Blackwell is the tech director of the CU. He's the ruling despot at the Blackwell Communications Group. JeffBlackwell.us and at Jeff Blackwell on Twitter. Thank you, Jeff.
It's an honor.
Yes, indeed. And Kathleen Lee, the Faith Ninja at Kathleen YABR on the Twitter.
Yep.
Kathleen, thank you.
I am. Anytime.
Now get back to work.
All right.
We've got Katie Richard, who is running the video feed for us, and we thank her for that. She also has a cat named Mr. Tumnus. You know me. I'm Father Chris Decker. You can follow me on Twitter at Digital Catholic. Join us on the interwebs at CatholicUnderground.tv for more from the CU. Thank you for tuning in and hanging out with us on the Catholic Underground. We are the Catholic Underground. We're Faith Gone Digital. See you next time.
From the Catholic Underground.